All right, welcome. Today we are going to dive into one of the most powerful skills you can have as a reader, figuring out the theme. You know, that deep, central message that makes a story stick with you long after you've finished the last page. I mean, we've all been there, right? A teacher asks that question and your mind just goes completely blank. You know the story was great, but what was it really all about? Well, stick with me because by the end of this, you are going to feel like a literary detective, ready to crack any case that comes your way. So, to really get a handle on theme, we need a good way to picture it in our minds. And that brings us to, honestly, one of the best analogies in all of literature. I want you to think of any story like an iceberg. The part you see first, right? The part sticking out of the water, that's the plot. It's the action, the events, the stuff that happens. But the real power, the real weight of the story, is that enormous chunk of ice hidden way down below the surface. And that is the theme. It's the big idea about life that holds the entire story up. Okay, so we've got this cool iceberg visual in our heads. Now let's make sure we have the right words to talk about it. You know, every good detective needs to know the lingo. So what is a theme exactly? It's the central message the author's trying to get across about life or society or just what it means to be human. And listen up, because this is the most important rule of all. A theme is always a complete sentence. It's a full thought, a statement the story is making. And that's what makes it totally different from the plot. The plot is just what happens. A happens, then B happens, then C happens. The plot is the what of the story. But the theme is the so what. Why does any of it matter? Now, this right here is the number one mistake I see people make, and we are going to bust this myth wide open right now. If you ever say the theme is love or war or friendship, you haven't found the theme yet. What you found is the topic. And this shows the difference perfectly. Friendship, that's a topic. It's the general subject. But true friendship requires sacrifice. That is the theme. See the difference? It's a complete, arguable statement that the story is trying to explore. That is what we're hunting for. So, how do we find these things? We don't just guess, right? We investigate. So it's time to open up our detective toolkit. Okay, the first tool is understanding this crucial difference. A summary just retells the plot. It answers the question, what happened? But analysis, that's where we need to be. Analysis is all about exploring the deeper meaning. It asks, okay, why did that happen? And what does it all mean? And your number one tool for analysis is something called close reading. I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. You are a detective. The author has left clues for you all over the place. In the words they choose, the symbols they use, the things characters say. Your job is to go back to the scene of the crime and gather the evidence. And this isn't random. It's a real process, a game plan. You read it once just to get the story. Then you go back, this time with your magnifying glass out. You take notes, you look for patterns, and you start asking, how do all these little pieces fit together to build that bigger message? All right, enough theory, let's get our hands dirty. We're going to put our new detective skills to the test with a true classic, The Great Gatsby. We'll start with maybe the most famous lines in the entire book. Gatsby, that green light, reaching for a future that's always just out of reach. Let's look for the clues here. Okay, wait a minute. Let's pause here. The slide calls these potential themes, but let's be sharp detectives. Are these really themes yet? Nope. Remember our big rule? These are our topics. These are our leads in the case. The clues in the quote, words like future, past, run faster, they point us to these big ideas. And now we take those clues, those topics, and we build our case. We put them together into a full sentence, a thematic statement. See how this makes a specific argument? It connects the past and the future. That's how you go from a clue to a full-blown theme. Let's try one more just to make sure it really sinks in. This is Nick's final judgment call on Gatsby versus all those old money folks. It is a huge piece of evidence. And look at the evidence here. That sharp contrast between Gatsby, who's worth the whole damn bunch, and the rotten crowd. This immediately points us to our topics for investigation, things like social class, money, and what makes a person truly good. And from that evidence, we construct our theme. We go from Nick's specific comment about Gatsby to a big, universal statement about morality and society. You see the pattern now? Find the clue in the text, identify the big topic it's pointing to, and then build a complete sentence that makes an argument about it. So, where do we go from here? Let's wrap this up by talking about your mission as a newly trained literary detective. Look, if you remember nothing else, remember these 4 things. 1. A theme is a sentence. 2. Your job is to go from what happened to what it means. 3. You do that by being a detective and gathering evidence. And 4. You connect those clues to build a powerful statement about the world.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. A book isn't just a story. It's a conversation that the author is trying to have with you about something important. And now that you have the tools, now that you speak the language of theme, what amazing conversations are just sitting there on your bookshelf waiting for you to begin? Go find out.